Before we jump into today's show, I've got a really exciting announcement to make. The autumn cohorts for Start Your Podcast group program are now open. There are 5 dates between September and October, and it's a 6-week program that will get you launched before Christmas. So if podcasting was on your to-do list this year, if you really want to get your podcast up and done by the end of 2023, then come and join me for one of those cohorts and let's make it happen. I have a free masterclass available for you called Understanding the Power of Podcasting. You can go over to donnaeade.com/masterclass, watch the masterclass and get access to that enrollment. I hope to see you in one of the autumn cohorts very soon. That's donnaeade.com/masterclass. Let's get back to the show. You're listening to the Wedding Procast UK, the place to be if you are a UK wedding professional looking to grow and streamline your business. I'm your host, Donna Eade, 10-year wedding photography veteran and CEO at the Society of Professional Wedding Vendors. If you want to grow and streamline your business, this is the podcast for you. Make sure you hit subscribe where you listen or join our email list at www.spwv.co.uk. You'll find the sign up form at the bottom of every episode, and by doing so, you won't miss a thing. So let's jump into today's show. Podcast, everyone. Today we have a guest with us. Her name is Henriette Danel. She is a strategic business coach working with service-based business owners to help them find and attract more clients consistently. This episode is such a great one because we are talking all about collaboration. And as you know, if you're in the wedding industry, that is something we are very hot on. So this is a great episode to listen into. The other great thing is that Henriette is offering a free VIP session to service-based business owners who would like to get clarity on what they need to do to get more clients consistently. So if you're interested in taking up the offer of a free VIP session with Henriette, then head over to the show notes, www.spwv.co.uk/blog, and you are looking for the blog episode 064. The link will be in the show notes for you and you can go and claim that free session. So let's jump into today's show. Welcome to the podcast, Henriette. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Donna.
I'm so excited about this conversation. So, guys, today we are going to be talking about collaborations. And obviously, in the wedding industry, collaborations are a huge thing. And I actually had a guest on probably a couple of months ago now, one of my members, Nikki, who is Polka Dot Creations. She's does wedding stationery, and she said it was actually one of the things that if she was to go back and start again, collaborations would be something that she would want to start doing from the start. She's only recently started and she sees the value in them. So for any newbies out there, this is an episode to definitely listen into carefully. And for the more seasoned collaborators, you might pick up some tips, hints, and may discover some ways of just making your collabs better. So Henriette, why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know a little bit about your background and where you're coming from, and then we will jump into the topic.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me here, Donna. It's such a pleasure. So for those who don't know me, I'm Henriette Danel, and I'm a strategic business coach. Now, I primarily work with female entrepreneurs in the service-based industry to help them attract more clients continuously. And I know this is a big topic for so many people. And this is why I'm so excited to talk to you, because collaborations are one of those strategic elements that people don't really know how to use correctly in order to attract more clients continuously or even to get more visibility. So for me personally, I've been in the industry for about 4 years. And before that, I used to be in the interior design industry for about 15 years. But I was project managing really big projects all over the world. And I loved it. But I quickly reached a point where I was like, you know what? I need a new challenge. And with that, I started going down the entrepreneurial route. I started running my business and creating my business for 2 years while working full time, which was stressful as it is, because heavens know how I did it, but I did. And I got to a point where I was like, this is it. This is my passion. This is where I got to go to. All those years of strategic planning and just knowing how to plan and just solve problems every single day. That is my skill set. So I used that, started becoming a business coach, and I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that you say that people don't know how to use collaborations properly, because I think that is possibly, and we will definitely touch on it, a point where the wedding industry falls down, because I feel like they do a lot of it, but whether they're using it to their best advantage is another question. So we will get to that. But I thought we would start with, in your opinion, why are collaborations so important for us to do?
Well, apart from just the fact that it gives you extra visibility and it definitely could give you some great clients as well. The reasons why it's so important, I think the number one thing is you really get a moment and an opportunity to step outside of yourself. And I mean this in a sense of getting out of your comfort zone, doing something that is something you never would have thought about, and this also just opens up that universe of possibilities. When you collaborate with other people, you'll be so surprised that you think of this as an opportunity, and from that, other possibilities and other opportunities would just arise. And you think, how did this happen? Where did these opportunities come from? But I think one of the other elements as well is when you start collaborating with people, you really get into a position where you can just appreciate the space and the energy that you share with those collaborators. And this is where people come alive. And this is time and time where I see people are just so enthusiastic and passionate about what it is that they're doing. And when you see people getting so excited and so passionate, working together, doing something amazing, it will be a success. And this is why I'm so excited about collaborations, because if you do it right, you will have all the advantages of what collaborations can offer for your business and personally for you as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that is one of the things that I think really can help set you apart with the wedding industry. I feel like there's two great ways of getting clients. One of them is through word of mouth, and the other is through third-party authorization. So whether that's you've won awards or you're part of a trading body like the Society of Professional Wedding Vendors, where you've had that third party say you're good at what you do. And that really helps you to attract new clients if you've got people that are willing to go to bat for you. And part of collaborating is that people get to see you and get to see the way you work. And when other people need what you do, you're going to be top of mind because they've seen how you work. And if you don't do the collaborations, then the only time you're really working with people is on a wedding day. And I feel like on a wedding day, people are so in their zone and I've got to do this and I've got to do that and I've got to do it this time, and they're so in it that you don't necessarily, like, everything seems to work like clockwork and we all look like we're working together really well, but it's almost like you're tunnel vision. You're not paying attention to how that person works. You're not paying attention to whether you enjoy that personality or anything. You're just getting on with it because you need to. Whereas in a collaboration, there's much more freedom to really sort of look around you and understand the people that you're working with. So that gives you that opportunity to sort of really get to know, like we do in networking, where you really get to know the person and understand their personality type. So when you do have somebody that, they really remind you of that person. Oh, and you need that job. Well, that person would be great for you. And you're able to do that connecting there. So I think that's a really, really good point. Now, collaborations aren't all sunshine and roses, and it can sometimes go very, very wrong. So I thought perhaps you could give us some hints and tips, tell us what pitfalls you've seen and how we could address them and make sure we don't fall into them.
Yes. Well, the number one thing I would say is choose who you collaborate with. This is one of the aspects that I wholeheartedly go into. When I do collaborations, I honestly vet every single person that I want to collaborate with. I need to make sure that, number one, they're of the same mindset as me, they share the same energy as me, but also, that they have a different skill set that they can bring to the table. There's no use in working with somebody who's got the same skill set or the same strengths as you have, because what is the use? There's no benefit to either parties. So when I choose collaborators, I always look for somebody who can bring something to the table. But they've got to have the same mindset as me. They've got to have the same energy. They've got to be excited about the collaboration, because that excitement is what gets people going. It's what gets people to do their part, so to speak, in a collaboration. So the first thing I would say is, vet the people you work with. If you get an opportunity and somebody say, hey, do you want to collaborate with me? I mean, of course, it sounds amazing, but always do your due diligence and just find out who that person is. If you've never met them, find out exactly what the collaboration is about. And if they share the same, beliefs as you have and the same energy and mindset, because that's where things can go very, very, very wrong. And it starts with, meeting those right people that you want to collaborate with.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, because when we're talking about collaborations, I'm thinking about styled shoots in particular, which is kind of one of the main areas where the wedding industry does collaborate, where we all get together and create this virtual wedding day for building our portfolios, etc. But there is also the collaboration on a wedding day where you actually do have that ability to reach out to people and get to know them and work with them and recommend them. And, often venues have lists of preferred vendors, which, when I worked at a hotel, we had a list of preferred vendors, and they were vendors that had worked in our property on a number of occasions and, we liked and worked well with. But a lot of people will just stick people on a preferred vendor list, and not necessarily have vetted them. Like you said, you might have had a conversation with them, or you might have, been at a wedding with them and you've just stuck them on a list for the sake of saying that you've got a list of people you can recommend. But I think when you recommend somebody, that actually is a reflection on you. And
Exactly.
You don't want to damage your reputation by recommending somebody who is not of a standard. So where you're saying they have to be of the same mindset and the same energy and enthusiasm, I think that is so important when you're doing a preferred vendor list, that you actually do your due diligence and make sure that those people that if you were getting married, you would be happy to use them on your wedding day. Because if you're going to recommend them to somebody else and they don't do the job to the standard that you would expect it done, then it's going to reflect badly on you. So I think that is a really, really good point.
Yeah, I think from what you're saying is absolutely correct, because, why wouldn't you want to go and recommend somebody or work with somebody and have a success at the end of the day and think, oh my gosh, look at how brilliantly this collaboration turned out. Look how, happy the wedding couple is, and look how amazing this whole event has turned out. Why wouldn't you want to be in a position where you can say, we've done that, we succeeded, we worked together, and we made something really special out of this. Because here's the thing, with anything that you do, people will take note. People will always see when you do something good. And then they will go and obviously talk to other people about it and said, oh my gosh, I just been to this wedding and these people, they were amazing. This photographer, the cake maker, it was fantastic. People will always talk about a wedding. But equally, people love to gossip. And if something went wrong, they will very much more likely talk about what went wrong in that wedding or what went wrong, at an event specifically. So, yes, we can't always manage everything. Things will always happen. But in order to mitigate anything badly happening, starting to collaborate with the right people and work with the right vendors, oh my gosh, you're already 80% of the way there.
Absolutely. So what other pitfalls should we be looking out for? So we've got the people, we like them, the energy's there, we're about to embark on this collaboration. What else should we be looking at?
I think the other thing is clarity. Clarity is one of those things that I find in collaborations where people say, okay, I'm here, we're going to do this, but what is my part? What do I need to do? And this is where communication is absolutely key, because if you arrange a collaboration, whether it is with a photographer, whether it is with people coming to serve you at the event, through the food, whether it is the cake maker, it doesn't matter. Whatever collaboration you make, you're arranging, you have to make sure that there's clear communication throughout. Every single collaborator on board, every single vendor that you work with, they need to know exactly what it is that is expected of them. What is the role that they're playing? What is it that they need to do to show up? And what is expected of them? But overall, the number one thing is that communication needs to be clear by saying to them, are you all clear on the goal? What is it that we're all aiming for? And I find that so many times people are not clear from the beginning of what is expected of them. And if they don't know what is expected of them, people tend to be lazy in some senses, and they go like, oh, okay, so I'll just show up. They don't really know what it is that they need to do. And if they don't know, maybe they might not even ask you. So clarity is definitely one of the things when it comes to communicating, talking to people, telling them what it is that is expected of them, and equally, what is the goal that they need to work towards.
Yes, I completely agree. And that is something that I think is so important, is sort of setting out those expectations.
Yeah.
What are we expecting from each other? Because it's no good if one person is thinking, this is how it's going to be, and then another person is completely on a different page, and then when you get to the end you end up falling out, and that's not the point at all.
And this is unfortunately what happens when there's no clear communication. People always fall out at the end, and you think, how the heck did that happen? They don't like each other. It's not because they don't like each other, it's just because of miscommunication. That's all it is. So clarity, oh my gosh, you can really go through a lot of obstacles and minimize those if you start communicating properly.
So when it comes to, having these people that, we've vetted, we've communicated, do you think there is a need for to have something in writing? Is that going too overboard, or, is just, I don't want to go as far as contracts. I think given in the wedding industry, we do so much collaborating on styled shoots anyway, it just seems a bit overkill. But, how do we make sure that like everybody's on the same page? Do we need to be having some sort of, for want of a better word, contract between us?
Well, I think this is where you can I think this is where you can kind of justify as to what the collaboration is. If it is a huge collaboration, as an example, let's say you're in the middle arranging a wedding for a party of 300, heaven forbid, but let's say you do that. Obviously there's going to be a lot more vendors doing their parts for a big event like that. So I would like to think that somewhere along the line, yes, you need to have some kind of contract between you and the vendors. But in particular, if it is a small arrangement, like you say, like a collaboration between a photo shoot and another person, another vendor, and you're just doing something together, you don't need to go in creating a law-abiding contract. Something like that would actually put off a lot of people, where they go like, whoa, this is way too much. I don't think I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
But you can easily just have things written down and have it in writing via an email. So you can easily just arrange things with people and say, listen, even though we've had this conversation today over the phone, via Zoom, whatever it is, I'm going to put everything we've said just in an email and just let you know that it is in writing. Because at the end of the day, if anything were to happen, if anything were to go wrong, you've got that proof in writing, and it was an email that was sent and acknowledged. So in some senses, you are okay, just as long as you put things in writing. It doesn't have to be a contract, it can be a letter sent, or it can be an email, as long as there's a record that it was received. That's all it is. But you don't have to go down that route, because the first thing you will do is make sure that you work with the right vendors and you work with the right people. So if you already eliminate that first part, the whole communication thing will just become so much easier, and you don't have to go down the route of getting law-abiding contracts.
We don't like to get all stern, but sometimes, well, certainly with our clients, it's a must to have a contract. But yeah, when we're working together, like you say, if you've done that vetting in the first place, then you're going to find that the people have the same mindset as you anyway, and so you'll both be agreeing. It's just so that it's there in writing, everybody knows what their part is, and nobody can kind of get out of it by saying, oh no, I never agreed to that. If it's already written down, it's like, oh well, you can't really say you didn't agree to that because it's there. So yeah, so we've got that communication, we've got that clarity, we're having it in writing. Is there anything else that we need to look out for when we're thinking about the main pitfalls of collaborating?
Yeah, I think the other thing, and this could possibly be the last thing, is just to make sure that whoever you're collaborating with is committed. And I think this walks a little bit hand in hand with the communication. But at the end of the day, if people are really committed, they're the ones who will show up. They're the ones who will do the work. They're the ones who will really bring their part to the table. And I find this time and time again, it doesn't matter whether it's the wedding industry, whether it's in business, whether it's a social, collaboration. If it's a big collaboration, there will always be somebody there who doesn't do their part. Mm-hmm. But don't concentrate on that person. Concentrate on those who are bringing their part, who are committed, who is doing the job and who is showing up and who is doing amazing things in order to make sure that the whole collaboration, the whole event is turning out to be amazing. And I find sometimes that the people who are in the leadership role, who's kind of like making the arrangement, who's the host or whatever you want to call them, the event arranger, or they're the ones who always kind of fall off the wagon a little bit when they find that there's somebody who's not bringing their part or somebody who's not doing what they're supposed to do. And they give their energy to that person so much that the other collaborators going, well, hold on a minute. Yes, that person is not bringing their part, but don't concentrate on him or her. We're still here. We're still doing our part. Let's do this together. Let's work together. And worst case, you will find that because of the energy and the collaboration amongst those who are working together, they will just wheel this person in who's not doing their part. And they will say to him, listen, you got to do your part now. We're all in this together. And they will sometimes even do the talk work for you. You don't have to show up as the, how can I say, the bad person, the bad guy having to sort this out. They would almost stand behind you, but it's about where you place your focus when you have that opportunity. Work with the people who are there standing beside you, and then together talk to this one individual or two individuals, depending on how big the collaboration is, and just say, listen, unfortunately, we are not happy with the efforts you're putting in. Please work together with us. And you'll be very surprised when you have got that backup, people very quickly change their tune and you'll get a better turnaround at the end.
I love that. And I love the fact that we're all on the C's. You choose, you provide clarity through communication, and you commit. It's the four C's. It's like diamonds.
4 C's. I didn't even think about that. Thank you for pointing that out.
You're welcome. Carry on. Coming to a presentation near you. So no, that's a really good sort of system to go through. And I think with the wedding industry especially, we do collaborate a lot because we do like to do these style shoots. Over the last year, when we haven't had weddings to do, I've seen so much great work, collaboration between different vendors, creating these mock weddings to sort of show off what they do, so they can still show that they're active and that they're still there for their current clients that are waiting to get married, and future clients that might be starting to tentatively look around for vendors. And there's been some beautiful work. So I know that the wedding industry works very well together as a general rule, but I think that if you are new to the industry or if you haven't collaborated yet, just knowing these steps will just help make sure that everything starts and runs smoothly from the offset. So that's awesome. What I wanted to talk about now is how we make the best of our collaborations. Because one thing that just came to me as you were talking about commitment was that actually the wedding industry doesn't have to and may not think about just collaborating with other wedding vendors and doing these mock weddings, because photographers can collaborate with anybody for any particular reason. If they don't just shoot weddings, if they are a family portraiture or they do branding shoots, there is the opportunity to collaborate. And because they already have that good system in place where they've collaborated so many times anyway, they can take that outside and collaborate outside the wedding industry. But my fear is that wedding vendors do all these lovely shoots and then they share the photos on social media, but it kind of stops there. And I'm thinking there's got to be more to getting, there's more to get out of this than just sharing images. So please do let us know, what can we do with our collaborations? How can we get the best out of them?
Well, here's the thing. When you collaborate with somebody, this is where marketing comes in a little as well, because collaborations is not just about us doing something amazing together and having these beautiful images and say, this is what we did, we worked together. There's always going to be what they're after. What is it that we want to do? And I think for anybody in any industry, it's about visibility. What are you doing to portray what you're doing to everybody out there in the world, online, in person, it doesn't matter. So it comes back down to your marketing. When you collaborate with somebody, there's got to be a little rule in there as well, where you say, listen, for this collaboration, I've got a following, as an example, on Instagram, and I know you've got a following on Instagram, just as an example. So why don't we just decide between ourselves, we're doing this collaboration, and throughout this whole week of us doing it, the only marketing we do is for this collaboration, whatever it is. Let's take an example, not just to talk about the word collaboration. Let's say a photographer is working with an image consultant or a stylist, and together they decide to do this collaboration where they are talking about clothing, they're talking about styles, and they're talking about the photography and how to photograph somebody for their brand or just to look good, whatever it is. So there must be some kind of arrangement between the two of you or three of you or how many there are, in order to say, listen, that week that we're doing the collaboration, or those couple of days that we're doing this collaboration, we're just going to market the heck out of it. And we're just going to tell people this is what we do. Because if you talk about something once, people see it and they forget it. But if you talk about something more than once and you have the visuals popping up in their feeds all the time, they're going to start taking notes. But I would also like to say it's not just about marketing yourself during that week. This is where the interesting part is. And this is where a lot of people fall flat on their face that they don't realize. It's the pre-marketing sequence. Before that event is happening, how are you marketing everything beforehand? And this is where people sometimes get confused. I find that people say, oh, I'll only talk about it when I'm doing it. It's like, no. Talk about it way beforehand. Talk about the fact that, hey, Donna and Henriette, we're going to be on a podcast together. You should come. This is the date. This is when we're showing up. Come and see what we're going to talk about. The photographer and the stylist, 2 weeks beforehand, they can start talking and putting messages out there on social media on both their feeds and cross-promoting it as well and saying, hey, I am collaborating with this person. We're going to do this on this date. Check it out. Come and check out what we're doing. We'd love some feedback. We'd love for you to engage with us. So that pre-marketing is actually one of the most important aspects, because what you're doing is you're creating that curiosity for people to see, oh my gosh, there's something going to happen. There's an event going to happen. And I'm interested. I want to see what it is that they're doing. Now, especially if you already have a following, people who are really engaging with you, who are interested in what you're doing. If you promote the pre-marketing sequence, if you start promoting an event of what you're going to do at a specific time and day, they will be there. They will come and check you out. And then during that time, those couple of days when you're doing the collaboration, don't just talk about the collaboration. Do lots of behind the scenes. I mean, as an example, I worked with somebody and we did this whole kind of project together. We took photos of our setup, of how, you and I were just laughing about our setup for this podcast. We did pictures of the setup of, we had our mics and our cameras and we got all these lights and we're having a cup of coffee because we've done so much and we were exhausted. So everything that went on behind the scenes as well, we marketed that to talk about this collaboration. And I promise you, the engagement we got was, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Because what you're doing is you're telling a story. You're telling the story of this collaboration. You're not promoting it. There's a whole difference. But in a nutshell, yes, you are marketing the whole collaboration. You are marketing what it is that you're doing, but through storytelling. And that's what people want to see. They want to see and get curious beforehand what you're doing. So you market the heck out of that. And then during that time, you don't just market what you're doing. You're talking about behind the scenes, the story, what's actually happening in order to create what it is that you're doing. And that's where you grab people's interest. And that's where you start the engagement going. And people go, you know what, Donna, I really need to get in touch with you. I really like what you've done. And this is where I mentioned in the beginning, those opportunities are rolling in because other people are seeing what you're doing and they're going to contact you and say, you know what, can I do a collaboration with you? I've got this idea, seeing what you're doing. Can we do something similar? And the visibility just expands from there. It's how can I say, it's like this web. You're starting in the middle with your web and it just grows and grows and expands. And the more you do that, you don't have to create just one web, you create more webs. Your visibility expands. You start attracting people, not just for working together for collaborations, but you're starting to attract their audience. You're starting to attract more clients. And this is what I wanted to say with people is people who are not using collaborations as a strategy in their business, they're losing out big time. Because we're in a day and an age where you can't do things on your own anymore. It is 200 times harder to become more visible on your own. You need to start collaborating with people and using it as a solid strategy. And I promise you, doors are going to open that you would never have thought possible.
That's just like aha moments galore right there. Because I just, it's so hard to get yourself out there. And just as you were talking there, I thought, you know what, actually, this is what I see in the collaborations in the industry is that, photographers are very good at putting out their images. Everybody's very good at putting out the images after it's happened. But there are few vendors that I see doing that behind the scenes on the day kind of stuff. And not many that I see talking about the fact that they are working on something for. So I feel like even those people that do a lot of collaboration, so therefore might have that communication down, they might have done the vetting and all of that and have the good process in place at the beginning of a collaboration. It's them taking advantage and making the most of it. Wedding vendors are very good at tagging each other in their styled shoots. So if you see an image that has been done in a styled shoot, you will see a great big list of tags underneath that image of all of the vendors that took part in that shoot. So they are good at that. But when you were talking there, I feel like if somebody isn't there necessarily on the day, they might, like, for instance, wedding stationers, they might just send their stationery. Nikki, she's based in Lincolnshire. She's done a shoot with one of our other members and she's based in Luton, Bedfordshire. She would have just posted out. She wouldn't have gone down to the shoot to take part in it. But the opportunity to actually talk about it is still there. So you talk about when you're creating these invitations and the color scheme that's being had on the day, why you chose the fonts you've chosen, what the theme is, because I know that fonts are very particular to, if you've got a whimsical wedding or if you've got a more formal wedding, you'll choose a different font. So she could talk about all of that in her stories, put a picture up on her feed about, of the invitations that she's sending off, saying that she can't wait to see how they look with a professional photographer in situ on the day, send them off. And then on the day when it's happening, be putting up stories saying, hey, or getting like, I know that other people on the day. So for instance, if the planner is actually there doing behind the scenes, you keep an eye on their stories and you reshare the stories. Oh, this is behind the scenes, my invitations are here right now, I'm so excited to see the end result. So you're still being part of that day, even if you're not there on that day, and just sharing that information. It's just that spider web that you were saying. I just see so many opportunities to talk about it and to get it out there to more people. And like you say, you've then got access to the people who you've collaborated with and the people that like check in on them. If they like one of these styled shoots, then they've got all of those tags to go down and find all of the people that helped make that happen for their wedding day. So you've got that, but equally you're showing your audience all of these other vendors that actually took part in that. And then when you share the professional images, you can go back, oh, I remember, you know, it was like a month ago that I started doing these invitations. It's so nice to see it all, you know, completed. And you can share those images. And, you know, as I say, they're very good at tagging each other, but I just don't think that they've necessarily got, and it's all about processes. To me, it's all like step-by-step processes. If you're going to do a style shoot, this is how you do it. And you've just given it to us. Then, you know, you've got your pre-marketing, talking about it before it happens, talk about the stages that you're taking up until the point that it happens, then doing behind the scenes on the day, and then afterwards talking about how it was completed and the end results. And just if you take it step by step, you've got all of those opportunities. And obviously there's blog posts you can do about it, and there's
there's
so much that can happen.
I mean, if you really want to put it in context, you were just referring to Nikki there. She telling her story of what it is that she's doing, and she's tagging everybody in. Now, if there were more than one vendor working on that event, can you imagine if every single one of them did exactly the same? How much publicity Nikki will get, herself, just from everybody doing exactly the same process?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, if you really do this right and you work with the right people who is happy to say, yes, I'll do the pre-marketing as well. Yes, on the day, I'll do behind the scenes as well. And I'll, you know, tag everybody in. And yes, after that, this is what I'll do as well for the marketing. So if you've got 4 vendors working together on this, and it doesn't just rely on, as an example, Nikki to do this. If every single one of them were to do the pre-marketing on the day and then the post-marketing, can you imagine how that would expand the visibility for all 4 vendors? Because it reaches 4 vendors as audiences and more. It's got an incredible potential. And then equally, like we were saying a little while ago, with them working outside of the wedding industry on something, I know, Nikki, I am completely using you today, my friend, but Nikki actually does business stationery as well. So when we went into lockdown and the wedding slowed down for her, she picked up on her graphic design and branding side of her business and worked more on that. But being able to do those sorts of things with brands as well to create those collaborations, she's got the opportunity to do it on that side as well. And it shows a different side of your personality. And I've said to people before, just because you are doing something that somebody is not necessarily going to want, it doesn't mean that they're not going to come to you. It still shows what you're capable of, and they're going to be going, oh, I didn't realize. So, you know, even if you weren't, you know, obviously she doesn't advertise her branding stuff on her wedding Instagram page, but she could pop it in stories. I always feel like stories is a good one because it disappears after 24 hours. It just shows people what you're up to. So if you're not doing weddings that day, oh, I'm actually working on some company graphics today, and this is what I'm doing, and a little behind the scenes, it's in your stories. People go, oh, you know, she does a little bit more than that. And you're tapping into a new audience, because there's plenty of people that are getting married, plenty of women that just love looking at wedding stationery, that run their own businesses, that might go, oh, actually, I absolutely love all the wedding stuff. I didn't realize she did business stuff too. And that opens a whole new market. So, you know, we've done a little marketing plan for you there, Nikki. Just spotlighted one of my members today in this episode. But yeah, that's fantastic. And I think that really does sort of give everybody who could be listening to this, from people who've never collaborated before to seasoned collaborators, something that they can go, oh, actually,
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing that with us, Henriette. If people want to get in touch with you and find out some more fabulous stuff from you, where can people find you?
Yeah, so very easy. My website is Henriette Danel, Danel, because I know a lot of people say Daniel. It's henriettedanel.com. And also that is the same handle for my Instagram and also for LinkedIn. So you can find me there. And if you have any questions more about collaborations, shoot over a message and I'd be more than happy to chat it through with you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's been eye-opening, and I've heard you talk about collaborating before, and I still like jotting down some notes here and thinking, oh yeah, that's good. So really appreciate your time. I am going to go and feed my cats now before they kill each other. So if you can hear that in the background, I apologize. And I will speak to you guys soon. Bye for now. Don't forget to hit those stars and leave a review of the podcast where you listen if you found value in what you heard today. It's a free way you can help the podcast reach more people just like you.